Hello, good morning. Welcome to another Pico 8 video. Today, I want to start with spawning a fruit in a position where it does not overlap with the snake. So let's quickly have a look at what we have so far. I'll do Control R to run, and the snake grows when it eats a fruit, and now I think it will break because the fruit will not be spawned in a new place, and indeed. So let's get started. Or actually, maybe we can do some refactoring first, which means basically tidying up things. One thing that I want to change is I keep having this rect size 2 everywhere, but this actually never changes. It's always the same. So I'll do something like entity size, and I'll put this in all caps to kind of point out that it's a global variable, that it's set somewhere at the top level, and that it should not be changed. Although this is just a convention, it can be changed, but this is more like a contract that I make with myself, that I will not change this. So entity size is 2. Now wherever I have rect size equals 2, I'm using this functionality in VS Code to select all these occurrences, and I'll just replace these with entity size. And what we can do is that we can actually probably get rid of this. We can probably get rid of this dot rect size thing on the body parts completely. So I'll select all of these occurrences, and I'll say that this is entity size, and I'll find all of these dot rect size. And so yeah, this can go, and this can go as well. I'll search for other occurrences of rect size. Okay, so this can go. This can go. What else? What else do we have? Rect fill. Okay, so yeah, this can become entity size -1, rect size. Okay, this can become just probably entity size, and the same for here. Entity size. Now, do we still have rect size anywhere? Okay, and since we're not using this anywhere else, we can get rid of it. Now, hopefully, it will work the same. And it looks like it does. Perfect. So I'll quickly commit that. Get rid of rect size. And yeah, that's it. Now what else? Now, I would like to streamline this process as well. I would like to create a function that creates a body part for me. So for this, I will do snake.create body part, and it is equal to a function that takes in an x and a y, and it returns this thing, a table with a position, or better, a table. How should it? Okay, so I want it to be maybe a return table with a key of position. I think that is what we need. And x equals x, and y equals y. And now here I can do, instead of snake.body one equals this thing, I can do snake dot create body part. Really need to figure out how to make it stop doing that. And it'll be 20 and 20. Now I can get rid of this. I should move this down here. Basically have it be defined after the function has been defined. And I should be able to go here now and say that new body 1 equals snake dot create body part. Again, same thing. And what does it take? The x and the y, so the x will be this thing. And the y will be this thing. And comma, here we go. Alrighty. And now we can get rid of this part. And same here. I'll get rid of this. Comma. And new body key equals snake dot create body part. And this will be the x and this will be the y. Alright. And now this should work the same. Looks good. Looks good. And I think this is also an occurrence of creating a body part. So this will get... Just try to figure out how to best copy this. Okay, funky, but... Oh, nope. So what happened? Snake dot... Okay, so this needs a comma. And yeah, we are all good. Perfect. Lovely. So again, let me commit this. Create function for bodies. And here we are. Okay, so now I think that the code is a little bit cleaner. It's maybe a little bit easier to think about. And yeah, actually snake.rectSize. Did I not get rid of this? Yes, I did. So ta-da, we can also get rid of this. I will commit this separately, and then later on I will put this together with the other commit that I created before. So remove use of rect size and cancel stage commit done. Still works. Perfect. So now we want to spawn a new fruit in a position where it does not overlap with the snake. So where are we doing this? We're doing this here, snake that collides, and if this is true, then we do snake that grow, and we should do something like fruit that spawn. And I guess you can take in a snake as well. I think it will be useful, maybe even a fruit. So this function does not exist at the moment. So we have to go and create it. Fruit. Fruit.spawn equals function snake self. Would be better if self came first before snake. And we can just do this. Okay, so now it should be the same as what we had before. Unexpected symbol. Okay, sorry, this is from JavaScript. Oh my god. Okay, so wheel position x self dot position. Okay, because I did not check I did not change these here. I changed the order in the function definition. All good. But we're still hard coding it. So now, how should we spawn it in a unique position every single time? For this, we want to have some kind of loop, because it may happen that we don't get the correct position in the beginning. But maybe actually we can do the random position first of all. So copying in something from Pico 8 documentation. So to get a random number between 32 and 96, we can use this function. We want to have it be between something like 10, and then the screen is 128 pixels wide and tall, so it should be 128. Well, okay, minus 10 because of this 10 here, and then I would say minus 4 because that's the width of the fruit, and then I will do like minus 10 again to keep it at least 10 pixels from the side, from the edge. And what I will also do is, if how do we do this? If bomb.x modulo 2 not equals 0, then bomb.x 1. So I hope this works. What I basically want to do with this is I want it to be even number. So if bomb.x modulo 2 is not 0, if the remainder of dividing bomb.x by 2 is not 0, it means that it is an odd number. So in that case, I want to make it an even number, which I can do by adding or subtracting 1. I guess I'll actually add 1. Yeah, I'll add 1. I think it doesn't really matter, but now I get to do the same thing with y. So y and y. So I call this function, I create this random position, and this random x and random y, and I can just assign it to, and okay, it doesn't have to be bomb, it can just be local x, and this, and this can be local as well. And yeah, I could just assign it to its values, and now this should work. Syntax error. Okay. These need to be closed with an end statement. Okay, so now it's spawning in a different position. No. I noticed there was some funky behavior going on, and I found a few bugs. I found that I had left in x here, so I set that to y, and I fixed that. Now here on the left, if you can see the second to last line, the root position.x is actually 37.7309, which is great, but we actually want it to be an integer, and not a floating point number. So I'm going to wrap this in a function called flor, or floor, which rounds down the number. And the way I came across this bug was that I noticed that at some points the collision detection was not working, and since I've had this before, I thought that it might be because of this. So I'll try again. Okay, all good. Okay, works. I'm trying to just catch it by the edge. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, so far so good. But there is a potential problem. So it could happen that this position is actually within the snake itself, and that would be weird. So what I want to do is I want to double check that when I am making this position, that it is not part of the snake. It does not overlap with the snake, and should be fairly simple to do. I need to use some kind of loop for this because I want to keep on generating new positions until I find one that is okay. So I'll create a local, like a flag, like a variable that tells me that I need to run the loop or that I have found my solution. So let's say that I'm assuming that overlaps is true by default, and then I will create a while loop. So while overlaps. So until overlaps is true, whatever happens in this loop will be repeated. I will create a local x. I will create a local y. And all of this stuff I will move within loop. And now it's no longer local x because x has already been defined. Okay, this should work. And now if okay, so now we have an x and a y, and now we can do if overlap. The a can be snake, doesn't really matter, and the b. Okay, now I'll need to put this integrate a table so that it is conforming to whatever overlap is expecting. So I can do something like new position, local new position is a table that has a position, and this is also a table which has an x, which is x, and the y of y. And I can give it here, new position. And if this overlaps, if this is true, then really don't need to do anything. Because then overlaps is still true. And, oh, actually I need a do here as well. Overlaps is still true. So I'll actually say that if it does not overlap, then overlaps is false. And that should break the loop. So, and overlaps equals false. Then I will come out of this loop here, and then this will be assigned here. Okay, yeah, this should work. Okay, clearly not. Okay, it's the snake. Right, of course, because I need to do snake that collides. Of course. Right, because I was using overlap and giving it the snake, but I had actually created a function on the snake called collides, which doesn't only check the head of the snake, but checks all the parts of the snake. So I need to, if not snake.collides, giving it snake and new position, and this should work. And this should also work if I define it like this. Perfect. Okay, all good. And I'm actually noticing that snake.body part, I could use snake.body part here. I think new position equals snake.create body part. This should work. Perfect. But now it really doesn't make sense to call it snake.body part anymore. So maybe I can just rename it to create entity. And I'll make this in all caps as well to kind of indicate that it is a global thing. So yeah, now everything should still work. Okay, so we have done this. Oh my god. We have done this. Do we have collision detection with the body? So it looks like we don't have collision detection with the body. Let's find a way to implement that. Also, looking at this now, I see that we're doing, we have some logic checking that's happening in draw as well, whereas the draw function should be reserved for only drawing things to the screen. I think that Pico 8 might skip the draw function if the update function has too many things to do. So we don't want this check ever to be skipped. So maybe this check into the update function, and then I can also see if I can detect a collision with the body. I'll do just that. So I only want to check it if the snake has moved. So I can do it every other frame. And I don't want to print here anymore because this is the update function now. And we have debugged this enough that I think I can get rid of it entirely. So I'll quickly check if it just keeps on working. So I'm missing an end from my if. And it's still working. So now, as I said, I don't have collision detection with the body. I realized that actually a very good way to check this would be to just move in a direction and then move the opposite direction. So this should not be possible. Well, because you should not be able to move this way anyway, which we can deal with later, but this should also at the moment trigger a collision because the head is on top of the body. So let's see. Where are we moving? So we are moving the snake here. And we have a new body. Okay, attempt number 2. After a lot of difficulties, I decided to scrap the rest of the video that I had recorded because I just couldn't edit it into something that made sense. So I'm going to try and record this again. I was bad at making commits, so I couldn't restore the exact state that I had at the end of the last video, but I'm very close. If you remember, you should because it was 10 seconds ago for you. I was at a point where I was trying to detect collisions with the body, and now this works. You can see it briefly flashes collision when I go back, when I press left. And I did this by expanding on the move function. This part here is for the collision detection. I'm taking the head of the snake, and then for every body part in my new body, I'm checking if the X position and the Y position is the same, and if it is, then collision is true. And then I just return the collision. Now, actually, this can be, looking at it now, this can be a completely separate function. So I've also had some time to think about it, so it makes sense that I have some improvements that I can make. So I can do snake.collides with self, which is a function that has this logic inside. And now I don't have new body, I have self.body. And actually, I don't need to use this flag pattern here because, or rather, I can still use it. Well, basically what I want to say is that if I find a body part where or whose position is the same as the head's position, I can just return false immediately. It will skip the rest of the body parts and the function will end. So this will be return true, and this can become return false, and collision can go away. Yeah, so that's it. Now somewhere I was saying snake.move. Okay, yeah, so snake did collide with self, snake.move. So now I will just do snake.move. And now if, okay, snake that did collide with self is equal to the value that is returned from snake that collides with self. As you can see, I still haven't fixed this. And it takes in a self, which is a snake. And yeah, this should work exactly as it did before. And now if I turn right, briefly flashes right. Perfect. So now I will try and be a bit better with my commit messages, and I will commit this. So this will be separate function for self collision detection. Okay. And now I want to make the movement better, or I want to make it more correct. If you know Snake, then you know that I shouldn't be able to go back. I shouldn't be able to press right now and turn in the other direction. If I'm moving down, I should only be able to move left or right. And if I'm moving left or right, then I should only be able to move up or down. So let's see what we can do about this. Okay, so my idea to fix this is the following. I will create a table called allowed directions, which will have all these same keys. So right, left, up, down. Let's see what's the best way to get rid of these. Okay, so right, left, up, down. And now this will be a sequence, which is like a table, but without a key. So we don't really need the key, so we can just put in the value. I don't know if this exists in Lua proper, or if this is only possible in Pico 8 variety of Lua, but it works. So basically I want to have the values or the directions in which I can move when I'm going in this direction. So for left and right, I will have up and down, and for up and down, I will have left and right. So I will do left and right, right. So that means that this is good. Now this will become, or rather, these bottom ones are good, but these ones have to become up and down. And these need to be strings, I think. And I think if you need strings here, then, oh wow, didn't know that would happen. And I think that if these are strings, then they need to be put in brackets as well. And since this is a table, I need commas here. So now this should still compile or work, and it does. And now, where am I checking for the direction? It must be in the update function, and it is. And now I will create a new variable, a local variable, so it will only be accessible in this function. And this is going to be called local potential new direction. And I guess it can just be snake that current direction, say the direction. It doesn't have to be defined, I think. And now, when the buttons are pressed, then I don't want to set the snake direction, but I want to set the potential new direction. And then when I go to move the snake, I want to check if the potential new direction is part of the allowed directions given the current direction. So that means that I need to do, well, I know that the current direction is snake.direction. So to get I will create another local variable allowed. It can just be allowed. And this will be from the allowed directions table current key. So if the snake direction is right, then this will take this table or sequence. So it's a sequence of up and down. So that's a sequence of up and down. So now I can do for underscore key to show that I'm not using it, and allowed direction in pairs. I wonder if this works in pairs. We'll see, because it's technically another pair, but we'll see. Allowed to, and if potential new direction is the same as the allowed direction, then snake.direction is the potential new direction. And this should work. Pressing left, nothing happens. Down, nothing happens. Interesting. Okay, works now. I think it's because the potential new direction is created again, so it's forgotten about, and I didn't necessarily press the button on that frame when this thing got evaluated, so that's why it didn't work. So now it does work, and if I press down, then it works. If I press left, and now if I press right, then it doesn't work. Now I can press up, but I cannot go down, cannot go left, cannot go up, cannot go right. Interesting. I was able to Alrighty, so I noticed that I was able to press down left and get it to move left. And I think that was because I set the potential new direction to down during one frame, but the snake did not change its actual position because it did not update. The frame tick didn't happen. And then I set it to left in the next frame, and then the tick happened. So the snake actually never went down, but in the code it went right, down, left, which is correct. So to fix this, I actually got rid of the local variable of the potential new direction, because that was being declared every single time update was called, and it was being set to nothing. And I instead added it onto the snake table, and that way I can take the input on every frame, but only calculate the actual direction on the frame when we move. So that seems to work fine, and seems to have solved the issue. So now I can say that we are detecting collision with the body. We also fixed the thing where make the movement correct. Now I'm only missing the detect collision with edges. So let's see where we can put that. So I'm thinking that this could be another new function, collides with edge. And this can, and it should be quite simple. We just take the head, and if head that position, actually we can just do head position dot position. So this should work. Local head position, if head pos. So if head position dot x, if it is less than 0, then it is beyond the left side of the screen. Or head pos dot x is greater than 128, which is the length of the screen, minus 2, which is the width of the head, then return true. And now we do the same for y. And that's it. And now, where do we have the check? I'll just use the same place here. So somewhere I'm setting this collides with self, or snake collides with edge. Snake. And let's see. So all good, all good. Now if I go left, collision, that seems good. No collision, collision. Okay, looks good. And yeah, that's that done. And now before I go to the first milestone, which is like going beyond the basics mechanics of the game, I want to do some cleanup. I want to create a new file called snake.lua, and I want to include this in my project. So at include snake.lua, unexpected include snake.lua. And now what I want to do is take all these things that are on snake and put them into snake.lua. Let's see, what else do we have? Snake.draw, snake.move. So now we have this file with all the logic for the snake. And so yeah, it doesn't work because it doesn't have create entity, because we are creating create entity here, but in the main file we are including snake before that. So it doesn't exist yet. So to fix this, we can just create another new file and call this utility, or like globals. So this is a file that we can use to house our global variables. Create Lua. So these things, for example, can all go there. So I think I want to change this to be all caps. And this can also become all caps. Okay, so now we have this thing here. So now it should run. And it does, and it works the same. And now you're probably saw this coming, but we can also create a fruit.lua for the fruit related functions and variables. And I guess the frame can also go into globals. And it can be uppercase frame. All right, looking good. And I will place this in globals as well, although it's not uppercase. Maybe we can overlap. And let's see. Okay, index global fruit, a nil value, main.lua line 32, fruit.lua, globals, fruit.lua, p6, p8. Okay, don't have that here. So fruit.lua, and now everything should still work. So yeah, perfect. So now I think it's a lot easier to follow. We have the main logic here with some things. We have the init function that's empty. We have an update function, a draw function. This is just some debugging code, which I think I can get rid of by now. Yeah, move, did collide with self, frame. Yeah, this looks good. And I think in the next and final episode, I can look at maybe adding some external things, like maybe like a menu, like a game over screen, and other things along those lines. But otherwise, I think we have the main game done with this one. Thank you. Bye.